Hello everyone. Now very quickly I will go through the other poem by Herbert, that's Jordan. Actually there are two poems with the same title, Jordan, Jordan 1 and Jordan 2. Jordan 1 is prescribed for you. Once again it is metaphysical poetry in the best tradition of this religious or biblical theological poetry. Let us start with the title. Jordan is not just the name of a river. It is, of course, the name of a river, but it has so many associations which are rooted deep in the Christian biblical tradition. Just as in the Hindu belief system, Ganga has Ganga, Saraswati, and many rivers. They have so many religious overtones. So is this river Jordan. The river Jordan is important for the Jews, the children of Israel. In the Old Testament, we find the Israelites crossing the Jordan to go to the promised land. So very significant in their cultural and religious history. Right. From the New Testament point of view or Christian perspective, Jordan river Jordan is equally significant because it was in the river Jordan that Jesus was baptized at the beginning of his ministry. So something sacred, something central to a Christian's worldview. So this kind of background is there about the river. But the interesting thing and what you can say metaphysical thing is it has less to do with this sacred history of or sacred geography of Jordan. It is more of the poem is more of a satire on the artificialities of the poets of the day, the pastoral poets of the day. He is fed up with that. He is note of protest is there, and he thinks that this poetry is too pretentious, full of affectation. What he prefers is simple, direct, religious outpouring or poetry. So it is of course religious poetry, but more of a satire, denunciation of this ornate pastoral poetry. And as you can see in the text, so please have a look at the text here. I will draw your attention to the key words which help you decipher or decode the meaning. Look here, the opening line, fiction and false. The prevalent pastoral love poetry is fiction and false. And fiction, as you can see, is used in a very negative sense. Otherwise, all literature is fiction, but here it is something at the same level. The fiction is of the same level as false here. And at the in line 5, he calls this poetry like painted chair. Again, something artificial, something imitation, something very obvious, just like a painted chair. And in the what he looks for is, in the second stanza, he presents his own ideal. It should be enchanted, there should be shadows, there should be purling streams, and there should be lovers' love. Yes, that natural strain, that outpourings from the inner recesses of the heart, that's he finds missing in the pastoral love poetry. His alternative or his model is, once again I draw your attention to the second stanza. These keywords, they provide a key to that. What he loves, would like to have the verse, is it no verse except enchanted groves. And then shadows he is looking for, and then streams, so something natural. That's what his desire is. He is for Look, the main point he is making is the poetry should be for spiritual renewal. That's what, as I told you, religious poetry. It is not don't take it in a very narrow sense of a satire on pastoral love poetry. He is bringing out the features of spiritual, he is bringing out the function of poetry, which according to him is spiritual renewal. So a poetry that is artificial or fictitious, that cannot and does not perform this function. So that's why he is so particular, and he laments the falseness, the fiction or falseness in persons and in poetry, and he seems to criticize that particular kind or sort of poetry, and for him there is no real poetry, or there is no message or freshness there. He is all out for this such poetry which is simple, direct, and which culminates in the spiritual renewal of the readers, and that's what his ideal is. And that's why at the end of the poem, and before that, even in the final stanza, the third stanza, he is not happy with this riddles, isn't it? Such poetry which is in the form of a riddle which is too intellectual, too artificial, for him it is no poetry. And as far as his attack on this pastoral tradition is there, so you see he is not dismissing them outright. Look what he says in this line 11, shepherds are honest people, let them sing. Yes, they are free to compose this pastoral poetry, but it should not be in the form of a riddle. The poet, what is his ideal? Look at the last line, plainly say. The poetry should plainly say, my God, my King. It should be about the glorification, celebration of the divine. That should be the goal, that should be the objective of poetry. This is what he champions, and this is what the poem is about, isn't it? It is about rejecting this strain of artificiality and affectation in the current pastoral poetry, and you can find out his ideal of poetry, that should be direct, simple, natural, and more importantly, it should be focused, or it should be concerned only with the celebration of the divine, the holy, and that's what this metaphysical religious poetry is. Okay, wish you best of luck.